Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the ParkTalk Podcast. I am your host, Danny Ream. As part of its commitment to environmental stewardship, the Naperville Park District utilizes various practices to maintain the health of our natural areas and prairies, including prescribed burns. Joining me are park specialists Olivia Koehn and Tammy Peterson to explore the prescribed burn process and how the Park District utilizes them. Olivia and Tammy, thank you so much for joining me.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Likewise.
Yeah, of course. So this was kind of interesting. I didn't know this until I was researching for this podcast, but the practice of prescribed burns is actually kind of generational. It dates back to early settlers and even Native Americans. And it has a variety of environmental benefits. So can you explain the benefits and why the Park District conducts prescribed burns?
Yeah, so I think like one of the biggest benefits that we find is that because prescribed fires date back so long, our native plants like really grew to rely on that fire to be able to germinate and grow, and they really respond very well to it. Whereas like our invasive plants that are not supposed to be here and tend to take over the landscape, they don't do well with the fire. And so when a fire comes through, it really helps to kind of knock back our invasives while promoting the growth of our native plants. So,
to add to that, a few other benefits would be nutrient cycling. So, for example, it kind of speeds up the process of breaking down the nutrients because of the burning and the ashes going into the soil. Another benefit would also be in the springtime, the soil gets warmer. So, to add to her point she made about the native plants germinating. So they'll germinate quickly and better with the warmer soil because of the lack of all that vegetation that was burned off.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive to say like, well, we're going to burn this prairie for the health benefits. But it is really fascinating that there are so many, different, like the nutrients part of it, how it actually helps the native plants grow. Burns are typically scheduled during cooler seasons of the year, like spring, like you mentioned, and fall as well. So why are those seasons the best time to burn?
The most important part of that would be the dormancy of wildlife. So the plants and animals are in their dormant stage, so we're not affecting them in a negative way. Another reason would be the vegetation is dry and just will burn better that way. And typically we will stop burning in the winter because of snow and just the more water. And
the ground is kind of cooler, so that could present some challenges.
Exactly.
we find then like in the summer, we have the same issue where there's like so much humidity that we can't get a fire to go anywhere. So doesn't do us any good to even try.
Yeah. Since spring and fall weather is kind of unpredictable, how does the fluctuating weather kind of affect scheduling, and what are those ideal conditions to burn?
So we are constantly checking our weather, constantly. We check it, in the weeks leading up to when we think we'll have good weather. We check it the morning of, and then we check it like on site right before we burn. And so we kind of are looking at humidity, like I mentioned, temperature. We look at our vent rate, our mixing height for our smoke. Our smoke plays a huge part in whether or not we're going to burn or which site we burn. We don't ever want to send our smoke into a busy road or a school. And so for that reason, like we very strategically plan out which sites we're going to burn on which days based on like the weather direction for the day. So.
And oftentimes we have to stop a burn because the weather changed like in the middle of it.
Right.
So we have to just pause it and come back to it another time when the weather is cooperating.
Yeah, well, you always hear, stories of these larger wildfires that happen, and a lot of it can be caused by, extreme winds. So, that's just one aspect to consider when planning out these burns. So how does the Park District determine which locations are added to the prescribed burns list?
I would say, so we have a list of all the sites we like to burn, and we kind of have it on a rotation. It's kind of circumstantial, so it depends. Like if there's a lot of invasive species in that area, we'll probably be burning it either every other year, or even some sites we burn every year just to help combat that. Mm-hmm. But we kind of just have it on a rotation, so each site is different. But
yeah, so it just kind of depends the time of year or the cycle, I guess.
Yeah.
Really depends on, I would say, like the goals for that specific site, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. And does that kind of also play into like, prairies that have been restored recently? I know one of the ways that we maintain our prairie restorations is also through prescribed burning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So like kind of Tammy was kind of saying, sites with more invasives, we burn more often because we want to get them back to a restored, like healthy site again. So yeah.
Yeah, burning, I would say, is our number one tool for restoring prairie.
Absolutely.
The most efficient also.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the Park District is really great at communicating which parks and prairies are being burned. We have our website, we have social media, we send postcards out to nearby residents. So we're very efficient and, on top of communicating those locations to our residents.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like we do a good job. Parks and our marketing department do a great job communicating within each other and working together to make that happen. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important to us.
Yeah.
So who conducts the prescribed burns, and is there any sort of required training or certification to do so? So
we have our own crews that do our prescribed burns, but then we also have contractors that do our burns. So all of our crew members go through a Midwest Ecological Crew Member Training Program, and that is put on through like the Forest Preserve districts, and I think the Illinois EPA is a part of that, and then the Illinois DNR is also a part of that too. And so they put on that program, and all of our crew members have a minimum of that 2-day program. Then we also have our burn bosses, who I'm one, I believe Tammy is one as well for South. We go through a much more intensive program. We do like 4 or 5 different classes through a national organization, and then we also have to do apprentice burns, where we are following a certified, already trained burn boss, and they do our performance evaluations for those apprentice burns. They do they help us come up with burn plans, and they help us do our post-burn evaluations for that stuff. So getting the burn boss certification is a little bit more intense than just a crew member training program, but it allows us to plan out which sites we're burning and how we're going to burn them, and really take charge and lead our crews through each burn. So
the burn boss leading the crew on that day, they kind of dictate like who's taking on what role, and making sure everyone stays within that role, just to make sure the burn goes as planned.
But dealing with this sort of practice, there is a lot of safety measurements that have to go behind it. So I'm glad to hear that there are a lot of trainings and certifications that the crews and burn bosses have to go through. So you're both park specialists. As park specialists, what are your roles when it comes to planning and executing the prescribed burns? You kind of already touched on that with the different certifications, but can you explain a little further?
As far as at Park South, me and the park specialist too, we talk about what sites we want to burn that season, and then we talk about what kind of weather conditions we're looking for each area, and then we build our burn plan. And on the day of the burn, I would get in contact with all the people we need to contact before the burn, like the fire department. We will contact any schools that are nearby to let them know prior to the burn.
I think Central is pretty much the same. I am our primary burn boss, so I do most of that alone. But Central, as far as area goes, doesn't have anywhere near as much area as South does, so it makes sense for them to have few more burn bosses over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I do all of our burn plans. I decide which parks to burn and all of that stuff. And then I also want to touch on, like, we always obtain permits through the Illinois EPA and through the fire department, the Naperville Fire Department.
Mm-hmm.
Those are yearly permits that we obtain every year. And when we do that, we just get the permit that lists off every single one of our parks that we could possibly burn at. Every single park that has a natural area is on that permit, just in case something were to happen in the year and we needed to switch up our plan.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're not having to go back to those organizations and say, hey, we need an extra permit. It's already done and we don't have to worry about it later on in the year.
I mean, it sounds like you guys have to do a lot. The prescribed burning with, the fluctuating weather patterns and, even scheduling for each parks, it seems like it's a very fluid process. Even, contacting, like you said, Tammy, the fire department and the school, it just kind of sounds like, we might have the plan for that season of which prairies and parks you're going to be burning at, but it's really hard to dictate on the exact day. Like, we are planning 1 week ahead to do this because with the weather always changing, you never know when it's actually going to happen.
I think even, like, aside from the weather, you never know at the beginning of the year what plants are going to grow for that year.
Yeah.
So you don't entirely know what invasives are going to come up or what they're going to look like, how dense it's going to be for the year. You can kind of guess and predict and based on previous years, but you never know for sure what's going to happen. So
yeah, totally. So understandably, like we've kind of talked about, safety is a key aspect of prescribed burns. So other than, the different certifications and trainings that you guys have to go through, what safety measures does the Park District employ during the actual process?
Besides notifying the people we have to notify for each burn, we also put up signs. We also have radios on each of us to communicate because we most likely won't be really close to each other. If there's more than one burn boss on site, we're always communicating. We make sure we have all the equipment and all the equipment's working. We have enough water. We just make sure we're prepared in case anything happens.
Yeah, I think the big one is always having enough water
Yeah.
on hand. I mean, for Central, we have 2 water tanks pretty much always on every single burn. It's about 200 gallons. And then we also have access to what we call like a trash pump that we could throw into a pond or the river and basically turn into like a fire hose if we needed it. So, yeah.
Yeah, so you're covering every basis, making sure nothing bad goes wrong or nothing goes wrong during, each burn, which is, I mean, like we've talked so much about the safety aspect of it that's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. We really try to plan ahead and as much as possible.
Yeah, you kind of have to when you're dealing with controlled burnings and everything like that. You really have to have a lot of preparation work put into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've gone through all the steps, the training, the planning, which parks, the actual burning. After the burn concludes, is there any sort of additional maintenance that takes place in the prairie?
Typically, like after a burn is my favorite time to go through and cut down any woody invasive species. It's super easy at that point for us to walk through there versus when everything is super tall and
you're
hard to
fighting the vegetation.
Yeah, fighting the vegetation. Then you've got saws with you too. So after a burn is really like our best time to go through and cut as much as possible.
And I would say seeding as well. If that site is scheduled for seeding, that's also the best time to do that. Unless it's like too late in the year, but usually I like to seed after that too.
Yeah, I'm sure in the spring it's really nice when it's all cleared out, all the debris and everything. You've cut down all the invasives, and then the fun part begins. You get to start planting for the spring and the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a clean slate at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to learn about our prescribed burns in the process and just understand more about the planning and coordination that's involved. It's a really fascinating practice, and I'm sure our residents will find this information helpful as well. So, Olivia and Tammy, thank you very much for joining me on ParkTalk Podcast and sharing this fascinating information.
Yeah, thank you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. If you're looking for more content, you can find all our podcast episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, or at napervilleparks.org/podcast. Full-length video episodes can now be found on the Naperville Park District YouTube page. As always, be sure to stay up to date on everything going on with the Naperville Park District by following us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or by visiting our website at napervilleparks.org.